Sure.
Okay, we're here. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to Hear Us Out.
Thanks for joining us, besties.
We're so happy to see y'all. Happy Sunday. We're back. Episode 12?
Yes.
Time is flying.
I know. I'm so excited.
So we're geeked up because today's episode is fire, y'all. Like, it is the topic of topics.
Very, very, very crucial subject, which can low-key make or break you. So
it is the topic of topics. Let's talk about how to build a team. Now, look, I just want to start. Can I just start this out by saying, I know I've had so many people ask me how to do this, and this is me responding. I'm responding now.
Same.
Sorry.
Consider this podcast a response to all of your inquiries. That's what every episode is.
Every episode is me responding because I be on the go. Lottie be on the go. We be on the go. But we got you. We here. So we're going to talk about building a team. But first of all, what kind of team? Like, what are the teams? What's a team?
What's the team? What are the teams?
Music and media, entertainment industries.
Listen. So there's different types of people that watch Hear Us Out, right? There are people who are creatives, right? Artists, songwriters, producers, etc. And then you have people who are like on the corporate side, whether they're consultants, they work at a label, they work at an agency, whatever else, right? So therefore, when building a team, there's different ways to consider it. So if you're an artist, you're thinking of building a team, you want, like a manager, a publicist, an assistant, whatever.
A lawyer.
Hey, we're gonna get into that. If you're on the more corporate side, it all depends, right? Because sometimes it's like depending on the level that you are, whether you're like in a C-suite, director level, manager level, associate level, etc. So it's like basically you're either trying to get people who are subordinate to you or who are alongside you, and that's going to look different depending on what department you're in and all other things.
The two types of teams. I love that you started us out with that too, because I feel like the bottom line, I think one of the biggest things that I want to say, because I've had people ask me, is like, is it necessary? It don't matter what kind of, if you're corporate mommy, corporate poppy, you are artist, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to achieve a certain level of success, yes.
Yeah. You can't, look, all right, listen here. I know we love to try and, I could do bad all by myself. You can. Do you have
up until a certain point?
Should you? If you're trying to scale, if you have ambitions to scale, and that's corporate or artistically, you need a team. It's a lot.
There's only 24 hours in a day. You can only do so many things at once. It's like, if you're trying to grow beyond just yourself, by default, that requires other people.
Always, like, yeah, and don't, like, it's okay if you need help. So I know I had to respond to a couple people on that. Yeah, you do need a team. I think we could have a conversation about the timeliness in which you may or may not need that
right
team. Obviously, if you just started today, you got to do some self-work first.
Yeah, you might not need a manager tomorrow.
Right. But over time, you trying to build something big, franchise, empire, whatever it is that you want to build for yourself. If you have big dreams, big ambitions, even if you don't, like, a team can help you to account for all those different things that you may not even be realizing you're not accounting for, but should be, that you can be doing in a more effective way. So I just wanted to start that out for sure, because I know that's a question. I promise you, I said I would get back to you, and I just did. So there you go. But yeah, so let's really talk about it. Like, who are the people on these teams? Because the people want to know.
People want to know. Yeah. So like, regardless of whether you're doing it on the creative and personal side or on like the business side, there are some of the same recurring folks that are going to be on your team, and obviously you just tailor it to depending on what your needs are, what your product is, where you are in your journey. But the one, of course, that people ask about the most is the manager, right? So like, you're an artist, you're trying to get on or get further along than where you are. The first thing is like, I need a manager. Is it the first thing though?
I think it depends on which side of the industry you're on, actually. I think on the music side, for sure. Like, I feel like the most questions is like, how do I get a manager? On the TV film side, media side, it's, do I need a manager or do I need an agent? Now, those are honestly,
those are two different things though. You want to talk about this?
I'm like, dang, wait a minute. This episode might have to have a part 1 and a part 2, actually, because we might actually have to do that, Lottie. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
I'm thinking
We'll see how
about
long this one goes.
This is going to be a high level conversation about how to build that team. Now, when it comes down to like what people's roles and responsibilities are on said team, that's a whole other conversation. But I feel like you're right. Yeah, the most questions that it is like, how do I get a manager, or how do I get a manager / agent? I think it's key to understand the difference between those two things, number one. And number two, like knowing that they both work together or separate, depending on what it is that you're trying to do.
Right.
You can have both. A lot of people do. So the manager agent, okay, those are two people that we know. People are like, I need to have that on my team. Who else? We talked about it for a second in the beginning. Lawyer is important.
And let's just like give a quick run through of like what each person does. People know like why you need one separate from the other, right? Because like, why do I need an agent if I have a manager? Why do I need a manager if I have an agent?
For sure. So on a, like, I break it down on a, like, to keep it simple, your manager is the person who helps to develop your career, manage your like actual development as an artist, as a creative, as a business, however you identify. The manager's responsibilities are to really help you kind of like navigate the industry in the best way possible for your brand or your business or whatever it is that you have to offer. The agent's job is to literally get you out there and get you the jobs and get you booked. So, you know, if it's your booking agent, if it's your music agent, if it's your writing agent, if it's your, you know, there's a lot of different, depending on the agencies and all of that, they have a lot of different departments and a lot of different people that'll be on your team when you're at an agency. But the manager is that person that's like more inundated with that day-to-day type of stuff. They're not necessarily your babysitter per se. I don't mean it in that way, but I do mean like they're the person that's more inundated in the actual like growth of you, the person that you're talking to, like, you know, maybe we should get you a vocal coach. Maybe we should get you an acting coach. Maybe we should put you in this writing intensive. They're the people that are actually really like focused on how you're developing as a creative. Not to say that your whole team isn't. But their role specifically is to help manage you in that way. And with them, you know, depending on how things are structured, they will say, okay, let's also bring in an agent to help me and you to be able to continue to get the deals, the bookings, the offers, the endorsements, what have you. So that's kind of the differentiation between the two. There are a lot of people. One thing that I will say about this industry is like, there are ways to go about it, but it's not like everyone is following the same thing. There are a lot of people who only have an agent and they actually don't have a manager. They have an attorney. You know, I've worked on teams where there's been a lot of different people where like they brought a manager on after they already had an agent. It varies, circumstantial and subjective for sure. But for the most part, like that's the difference between the agent and the manager, number one. Number two, there are a lot of reasons why you might need both. And there's a lot of people who don't. It's really case by case basis. There's a lot of artists, there's a lot of celebrities, you know, who have both, who have a full stack team. And then there are some that are like, nah, you know, their ambitions, their goals, what they're doing doesn't necessarily require, I guess you could say, a full stack team the same way that somebody would, you know, who has a ton of endorsements, is a big face that we see on billboards and on all the commercials. We see them having all types of different things and all over the place. The more you see a person around, it's fair to guess they probably have a larger team. Like if you're looking at some of those big name people, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, the Rihannas, if we go on the TV film side, you know, the Margot Robbies, the Viola Davises, the Issa Rae's, all of them, they have stacked teams because but you see why, like they're everywhere. They're everywhere and nowhere at the literal same exact time. The only way it's possible is with a team, you know, so they would probably have a more stacked out team. So that kind of gives you that. I know that's the biggest question. It's like, what's the difference between the manager?
And I think also like the difference though, like with music is that a lot of times your manager will act as your agent. Like they will try to get you booked for stuff.
Sure.
They will try to get you paid opportunities because like low key, that's also the only way that they get paid. So it's like before you even get to the point where you have an agent, it's like the manager has to do a lot of that work in the beginning to get you to a point where an agent wants to work with you.
Yeah, I love that you said that actually too, because that's a really good point. Like you don't start out with both. You do not, like most people do not start out with both. Most people don't start out with a full stack team. You grow to that.
People don't start out with anything. But
right. Like you scale to, truly, they literally don't, you know, it depends. But you scale to that point. You scale to the point of, okay, now I need all of these different things. Like now I need, you know, we need to expand your team because your business is expanding. Now, like, let's be real. How would Beyonce be able to have scaled their businesses, Jay-Z, Nas, any of them? How would they be able to have scaled their businesses to the level that they are with just a one-person team? You know how much work it is for one person plus them themselves? So like, that's a lot. You get what I'm saying? So it's like the bigger your visions are, the more you'll need, but you got to start, you got to get in where you can. You may not necessarily, and we'll talk about that too. Like you may not necessarily need a full stack team right out the gate, but you know that like based on how the trajectory is of your career, whatever it is that you're building for yourself, you may need to expand in that way. And that's when you can start talking about that. To Lottie's point on the music side, for sure, a lot of people just have their manager and they doing
and the managers wears so many hats, like again depending on where the artist is, because sometimes it's like artists, they are like doing shows and doing this and doing that and they're bringing in money, but it's like they're still trying to grow things, but it's also like, okay, they need the artist development, but they also need help with like contract stuff, and sometimes you can't really like always afford a lawyer, and so you have like the manager just kind of holding it down, like if they have that experience and stuff like that. So it's like, it's interesting how depending on where you're at and who you know, like that's kind of who will come on first, second, third, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's facts. That's facts. So we talked about, so that's what 3 people so far. We said the manager, you've heard us say the agent, we mentioned an attorney, obvious reasons.
Yeah, and with the attorney, it's like if you're a big dog, you have them like on retainer, like they're always there because you always have contracts coming in for different opportunities. But if you're, you know, just trying to like shop deals and stuff like that, you'll just have like that kind of one lawyer whenever you need them to like negotiate certain things or to like at least tell you, okay, these are what these terms mean and etc. Because it's like obviously you still to a degree be doing the work to kind of know things yourself, but you want to have an attorney that's experienced in that particular area, like, you know, who understands publishing or who understands whatever else, to be able to make sure those terms like make sense for you.
Not locking yourself
and
into
you want the lawyer to be your own lawyer, not the label's lawyer. It's your lawyer. So if they like, oh, we can give you a lawyer, no.
See what I'm saying? This is what I mean. We don't have to have a part to this. There's a lot of
nuance, like
there's a lot.
Stuff. But if there's one thing to understand about those attorneys, please don't use the attorney from the entity that you're trying to negotiate with. Just think about how that doesn't make sense. Like there needs to be an outside entity.
Right. Yeah. Facts. Big word right there. And then so we have those. So okay, we have manager, agent, we have attorney, and then we talked about, Lottie mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to have an assistant and or intern.
Right. Yeah. You can have one or the other or both. Like, and it depends. Like, are you kind of like on the individual level? Or are you like at a company level? It's like, you know, like Beyonce with Parkwood, she got both. She got assistants, she got interns, multiple, you know, like it's a whole conglomerate. But when you're first starting out, Maybe you can't afford an assistant. Maybe you can only afford an assistant part-time. Maybe you can afford an intern actually, and neither of the other things, because interns, they only need to work a certain number of hours a week. And then like, it's like college credit, but also like maybe hourly pay. You just kind of figure out how it works. But do whatever you can afford. And also maybe you need like a certain level of reliability that you want an assistant. Maybe you need just someone who kind of like can do it when they can do it. Then you can get an intern. So just kind of figure out what are the things you need, what can you afford, and what makes sense for like the business that you're building at the level that you're doing it.
Because at the end of the day, I think the important thing to consider is like, obviously financials are a big part of it too, but the more you can outsource, especially if you're creative. So this is more,
hey, outsourcing.
You can outsource, you have a team, the more you can really focus on the stuff that like only you can do. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're an interior designer, if you're an artist, if you're a writer, you're whatever you are creatively, you got to focus on the things that like only you can do. Only you can sing.
That's why any of these other team members exist.
So all these other team members, outsourcing to them helps you to be able to focus on the thing that is literally your job on the team. Like your job, you are the creative, you are the voice, you are the whatever, right? Same thing on the corporate side. It's like knowing how to delegate is important, and being able to assess like, okay, my bandwidth has gotten to another level as I'm doing my consulting or whatever it is that I'm doing. I might need to bring on somebody on a part-time capacity. I might need to, tap in with some of the local schools in my area, my community. You could go to a junior college and really tap in with some people over there. They don't get a lot of like, people not thinking junior colleges first. We always go to the main universities. You can hit up a college, a community college that's in your area, and tap in with, who knows, their TV film program, and say, hey, I'm looking to hire an intern on this and this and that. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting the help that you need and figuring out an affordable way for yourself. And then of course, if you can't, you're going to have to wear multiple hats and be your own assistant and intern and all those different things. But when that time comes, when you can really put aside the finances or whatever the case may be to do that, that would be a big, big, big recommendation as it comes to like building out that team, especially because once you get, you have to think about it this way, right? If you're doing you're doing your own thing right now, you handling your own studio time, you handling your own writing schedule, you handling your own auditions and all that different stuff right now, you handling all your own stuff right now. It's a lot of work, in addition to also having to be creatively present in the time when it comes for you to create. Once you bring on a manager, you're scaling. Because at that point, now you got somebody else whose sole job is to focus on getting you the next opportunity or getting you prepared for the next opportunity. So you got to you have to have your administrative and organizational affairs in order before that manager come too, because that's when stuff could really start picking up.
And then also sometimes they got to clean up a lot of stuff.
Then there's that too. You know what I'm saying? You got to have, you want to try and at least get some form of like ready for that, because once it comes, you want to be ready for those opportunities. You want to be ready and not be feeling like everything is flustered and all over the place. I don't know what's this and this and that. So kind of figuring out those ways that you can be helping yourself to get prepared for that too is super helpful when it comes to building out your team. So we got manager, agent, attorney, intern or assistant. And then if you're a little bit more established, maybe out there, publicist. But those are definitely for a little more.
You gotta have some bread.
They're on a monthly fee. Sometimes it depends. They break them down different depending.
They do retainers sometimes.
Everything is case by case, honestly.
Yeah.
But like for the most part,
a lot of the more established ones are at least 3-month contracts. So you gotta have 3 months.
So you gotta have the money to pay them, right? So those are like, if you're out there, you more established, a publicist is definitely something to help when it comes to maintaining let's say your brand, your persona on a outward scale, getting you out there, making sure that the publicist is the person that's like making sure that you're red carpet ready. Who's styling you, who's your hair, who's your makeup, making sure that you're getting the interviews. You got a show coming out, you about to go on tour, you got a single that's about to drop. Like they're the person that's setting up interviews, making sure that you're out talking, making sure you're doing what you need to do. I've worked with several different publicists who have even, been able to kind of guide different clients on like, let's get you some like press training, like let's make sure that you're ready for being in front of all these, it can be a lot. It can be a lot, you know?
That's
so
still a thing now, like PR training. I feel like it's not a thing anymore.
That's deep because
like, you know.
But you know what? I guess I see why you're saying that, because social media, it's a different time. It is
Yeah,
people to your point.
No, but there are people who still exercise it for sure. But yeah, it's like
depends.
Once you're at a point where you can only do so much organically to get out there, then you want to bring a publicist on who can help you, because they have the relationships with any of the press, whether it's like, you know, Billboard or this,
Hollywood, everybody,
all of the stuff, like podcasts, everything.
Essence, all of it. Yeah, they're the ones that'll get you.
They're one of the later members, because it's like you don't need that from jump, unless you you Lil Nas X
like that
crazy viral out the gate, and maybe you do need. But generally, you're gonna build up to that, and then outside of that, obviously, like if you're more on the creative side, maybe you have, videographer, photographer, stylist, all those types of people. Like, and generally, those are people you might know organically, and maybe they come on to your team like early, because a lot of times people do this thing where they have like collectives, which I think is really cool. And in the beginning, it's like no one's getting paid, but you're all like really passionate about making stuff happen, and
you do it together.
The other time things happen might be when you do sign. And when you sign, then usually it's like your label might have the relationship with those kind of people, and they'll bring those folks on. But honestly, the more you can build before you get to a point where you sign any deals, the better, because then it's like you have a lot more control over how things happen in terms of your vision, but also like, those people are rocking with you from jump, right? It's like, it's one thing when you bring on the homies that have been making videos for you or doing graphics for you or whatever from the beginning. And it's another thing when you join a bigger company and then those things come after.
Wait, can we talk about that? That's the important part. That when we're talking about building a team, one of the main reasons why you do it, apart from the fact of like, it's a lot of work and you can't handle every single thing by yourself, it's also network and access, right? So like, one of the reasons why you see a lot of different celebrities may have a manager and an agent, or they may have, multiple managers. Don't
even get me started on multiple managers, right?
I've been on management teams where it's 2-3 managers to a client, whatever the case may be. The thought process behind that, which you should be thinking about as a creative or even as a corporate individual, whomever, is like, your network, your reach is only as far as your reach is. So when you bring on a team of people, now you have your reach and their reach. And then your manager brings in an agent, and now you got your manager's network of people that they have their close relationships with, that they've been cultivating for years, and your agent's relationships with people, with the network, with the studio, with the label, with the distributor, with everything. Everybody it's all a relationship game. We all know that that's the industry. It just is what it is. But that's a big part of the thought process behind who you are bringing on to your team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's super dope. I follow the collective format, my personal self. I have the homies, like it's people, we make it happen together. At the same time, we all have a different network. And that was super important to all of us. Is like, who I know, everybody else on the team may not know. And who somebody else on the team knows, everybody else on the team may not know. That's important. It's cool if everybody knows all the same people too, but then that means your reach is only as far as y'all all know. So if y'all need access to somebody over here and nobody has that connect, y'all are gonna have to do a lot of work to get there. But if you're thinking strategically in that way from the beginning when you're building that team, like, okay, let's all make sure that we're diversifying who we know and things like that. That's what really helps too, because you want to be able to, when you make the call, somebody answers.
Hello, heavy on somebody answers, because a lot of people are going to be making the call, but not everybody's
going to answer. Anybody can make, no, let's be for real. Any manager can make any call. That doesn't mean it's going to get answered. That doesn't mean they're going to get a call back.
Especially with social media, right? It's like you can get an email, you can, find someone on Twitter or whatever. And if you're crazy, you can even get a phone number, but that don't mean that they're going to respond.
That doesn't mean that they'll get back to you. If they answer, that doesn't mean they'll stay on the line. You get what I'm saying?
But if someone can make an introduction, if some like that, that's game changing right there. Because then it's like you have a vouch, so.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing to realize too is that like you'll have different teams, different stages of your life, and because when you're first starting out, it might just be the homie manager, right? And that's no tea, no shade, but it's like they might not know a lot about the business, but they really believe in you and they want to help, push you forward. But then once you're kind of at a point where, deals are happening and you're signing stuff or whatever, then maybe you might need like a bigger dog as a manager. And that doesn't mean you get rid of the homie manager. Like maybe they become a day-to-day, and then the bigger manager is one oversee, you know, so it's like, whatever. And that's where you have your team starts to compound, because like you can keep some of the OG people, you might need to let some of the OG people go, but also like as you're leveling up, you're bringing in new folks, and then people's positions change too. So
I mean, yeah, and I love that you said that people's positions change too, because it's like I feel like, yes, we're talking about creative industries right now, and so it may not necessarily be the same, you know, quote unquote promotion metrics as if you were an engineer or an accountant or whatever other not creative industry type of job that may have a more linear trajectory. Like think about that, your team the same way. Like why, if you have the homie who is learning about the industry with you, but they're passionate about you and they willing to come and do the work for you and this and that, and then y'all two scale together, it may be more fitting for them to also shift into another position that has now become their stronger suit, while you bring in somebody else to fill the gap, you know, whatever it is. It's always going to be Tetris and puzzle pieces when it comes to that. I think the biggest key when you're building out your team is to make sure, as the person, I say this to any creative that ever comes to me, talks to me about anything, I believe in myself. I was taught it. You're the CEO of your business. You're the CEO of your brand. I don't care what it is that you do. You're the CEO. Anybody that you bring on as your team, you're employing them. They get paid based off of what you get paid. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to be the CEO of your brand. You have to really pay attention to what's working and what's not working. You got to be willing to say like, yo, this isn't working for me, or this isn't in alignment with my vision. What can we do? How can we strategize?
Yeah, you gotta have those conversations. Yeah.
You have to take that initiative, because if you're building out your team and you make it a point to put everybody in their strongest suit, you have a well-oiled machine, as they say in the old days. Like if you putting the homies on, make sure that every homie, you know, if they learning, or if your team is diversified and people,
they gotta carry their weight, because they're a reflection on you though.
Everybody needs to be doing their strongest.
Like if you're gonna have, you know, especially like, it doesn't even matter if it's homies or like more established people, like they're a reflection of you. So if they're out here acting crazy or doing whatever, that's on you. So you gotta and then again, it comes down to like, you know, the timing of things too, right? Because like in the beginning, it's just you. Whether you're, you know, a creative professional on the creative side or like on the executive, it starts with you. Like you're the nucleus, you're the center of all this thing. The team doesn't exist without you first. And you need to do everything within your capacity as you're building in the beginning to get to a point where you can bring on other people. And so once you start having like money come in, which is generally the time where you're like, okay, like now that I can afford to outsource stuff. And it doesn't always have to be that way. Again, like sometimes people are grinding all together, like they're all trying to come up together in different ways. But if there's a point where there's actually like money coming in, you're gonna need help to manage that, because that means more opportunities are coming. But that also means that maybe more people who are looking to take advantage of what's going on are coming. And ideally, you want to have people in position who can kind of mitigate that type of thing too. And that's why like having managers and whatnot is important, because they can like smell bullshit. They're like, oh yeah, like this deal might look good, but like look, it's a this kind of cut. Like that's kind of not
getting this on the back end when everybody
you
else
know, like right, or like this might not even be like a legit, you know, agent who's trying to reach out to or whatever. So it's like you want to do the things that you need to do to get to a point where you can bring people on who are also going to really vouch for you and who are really passionate about you and also protective of you, because at the end of the day, if anything happens to you, that affects everybody else. And everyone wants to be good. And so if they want to be good, they got to make sure that you're good first and foremost.
In the same vein as that too, another point that you touched on a little bit that I think is worth us like really talking about too is like, understand the business. Like try to educate yourself on the business, try to understand, like do as much research, go to as many, me and Lottie talk about this all the time, A, because we do it, but B, because it's super important. Go to as many panel conversations, workshops, conferences, free, whatever, webinars, whatever it is, where there are music managers talking, there are TV film managers on the panel, where there's agents talking, where there may be an entertainment attorney talking, where there is a publicist talking. Like listen to them talk about their work, listen to them talk about what they do, learn about what they do, so that you know what you should be looking for, what you should be expecting, what roles and responsibilities are required of the people on your team, because that's key. Like, you need to know what a manager does so that you know.
You need to know like why you're paying people, especially if you're paying people.
Oh,
Like if we're just gonna keep it 100, like why is this person getting 20%? Like why is this like you need to know like what they're doing, because you got to make sure also low key that they stay on their job. I'm not gonna lie. But even before any of that happens, it's like just educating yourself and using the resources that are available to you. I don't know anyone who has regretted doing that. You're never going to regret learning things that are beneficial for your business, whether you're a single person or you have 50 people on your team. Because at the end of the day, if you don't understand the basics, at least, of everything that's happening, whether it's on the publishing side or whether it's relation to distribution or whether it's relation to like what HR should look like or taxes, it's like you gotta know at least the bare minimum, so that way when you bring on the actual professional who does those things, you can have a conversation to kind of gauge if they're even, one, capable of doing the things you need them to do, and two, like effective with doing the things that you need them to do. So it's like 100%. While the team is being manifested or whatever, you got to be doing the work, because at the end of the day, again, whether you're an individual person, have people that you're working with, you are a business as you currently exist. You might have 2 streams, you might have, it doesn't matter. You're a business. If you want to get to a point where you have 20 million streams or $50,000 in the bank or whatever else, it's like, you're not going to be able to leverage any of those things properly and really understand the essence of all those things if you don't do the basics of learning.
No,
so please.
You're spinning.
You hear horror stories, like, I don't know if you saw, remember that interview with 5e talking about how he had signed to Mace for like $5,000. And it's like, he might not have known at the time that, one, that is like no money really worth signing for. And two, like the contract of this, that, and the third. And like, thank God, like he figured it out. Like, he's doing his thing, he's killing it, leading like the drill rave in New York. But it's like the amount of things that can be prevented when you have an understanding of what's happening is so important. And I honestly really feel for like young people too, right? Because you hear about
to say that.
Even like, Meg was like in high school when she first signed it. And we've seen like, it's all over the media, like the legal battles she's had to deal with, and thankfully like the judges have been ruling in her favor. But it's like those mistakes that you make like early on when you're ignorant can follow you for years.
And it's so important to just like, I was just about to say that the young people is where I feel for the most, because the desire and the hunger, and especially if you like me and you from the hood, like $5,000 may not sound like a lot to any, corporate person or any adult now who's been living on their own in LA, and we all pay what we pay for your mortgage or your rent or whatever. We all know, like, right, as you are an adult and you grow older, you realize how much money might have sounded crazy when you were younger, and now it's like, that ain't nothing. My biggest advice for any of the younger folk out there that are trying to get into this, they trying to get on it, you on your grind, you passionate, you hungry about this, not all money is good money. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, the best thing you could do for yourself, and I know school and education and all this stuff don't always sound cute, it don't sound sexy, it's not popping, it's not player. It is, bruh. It is. When your bag is involved, when your generational wealth is involved, it is. You better make it sexy, you better make it attractive, you better get attracted to educating yourself on this industry, or you will get got. And it's really unfortunate, because there be so much talent, and then there just be so many opportunists who are willing to take advantage of somebody who doesn't know that $5,000 ain't a lot, but to them, 5 bands that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the best thing you could do, me and Lottie, you're saying it right now, it will not hurt you. It will not hurt you to do some research. It will only help. I know it may be annoying. I know it may not be the greatest thing in the world to sit down and really, but you got to do it. You have to understand, like, look up, people talking, look up celebrities talking about what they wish they would have told their younger selves. Look up T-Boz, TLC. You know what I'm saying? Look up Rihanna. Look up. We just said Megan Thee Stallion. Look up. There's a lot of people like on the rap side.
If you just Google low key, like, if you just Google artists complaining about their contracts. Like, just Google that phrase. You'll have so many news stories that explain,
and it's
like,
not even
people
to
just
be
didn't
like,
know.
yeah, they just didn't know. But the reason why we're saying look it up is not to be like, go look at all the bad things that have happened. No, I'm saying go look it up so you can see what they gained from it, what wisdom they got from it, because they talk about it. Rihanna talks about what she went through with this accountant situation and how that really, and what
Bruh, Bitch Better Have My Money was inspired by that whole thing. Like,
that's literally what have you seen the
she
video?
was not
Have
playing
you
around.
seen the video?
And here's the thing to understand too. It doesn't just happen to, like, you know, young, unfortunate children. We're talking about, this is someone who was like a multi-millionaire who was at the height of her career, who had to like file this lawsuit.
Dennis Rodman, like, we can name.
It can happen at any level. So it's important to remain vigilant, because even when you do have people that you work with who you trust, if you don't have a semblance of what's going on, and if you're not paying attention, a lot of things can go
Slip through the cracks because you're so excited and you get slow down. This is the most important part. How you build your team. The people who are about to help you get the jobs, execute the vision, build the career that you want for yourself, become the artist that you've always wanted to be, handle your money, negotiate your deals. This is the most important part. Slow down. Take the time on this. You have, like, look, that's all I can say on it. That's all I can say on it.
You know what's funny? Like, one of the things that I've learned in startup, one of the phrases they say is to hire slowly but fire fast.
When you know it's off.
So it's like, because those people are like the building blocks of your company, and it's like, it could be catastrophic just having like one quote unquote weak link, right? And then like fire fast, it's like you find out, you know, someone's like stealing, or someone is acting up, or some like low key, not even a second chance. It's the day out.
With the old,
and we're not saying like making honest mistakes. Like, okay, if you had a typo in an email, okay, like you should have looked more closely, but that's something that's not a character flaw. If someone's got a character flaw, yeah, it's a dub.
No, I'm saying, what is the old saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just like
3 times.
When people like can't be trusted, when they're taking advantage, when they're, you know, like being like racist or sexist, nah, dub.
Like, we find the excuse because we feel like it's from a scarcity mindset, because we feel like, and it happens, you know, people get to saying what they say, well, you're never going to make it without me, and this and that. Listen, my talent got me here, it'll get me somewhere else too. You got to be willing to say it. My talent got me here, my passion got me here, my gifts, whatever it is that you believe, it got me here, it'll get you somewhere else too. It's multiple doors. You just got to be patient, take your time. Like Lottie said, pay attention to what's going on around you. Don't give people the opportunity to have you screwed up.
Listen, like, please don't. And the thing is also, I think what's super important, again, shout out to Google or ChatGPT, any of them things you want to search, look up people who have good teams. Like, think about the artists or the executives that you look up to, right? That are killing it. You need to know who's behind these people. Like, I actually recently, if you know me, you already know I'm a huge Ice Spice fan. I'm a munchkin. Shout out to the Spice Cabinet. And I recently did like a kind of a deep dive write up on her, because I'm just like, bro, like, she's been killing it. How? Like, who are the people that are involved in making sure that she's right? Because like, this girl has not missed. And it's like looking at stuff like that too, because you look at the people who are on these people's teams, you look at the characteristics they have, the experience they have, the way that they think. When you're building your team, you want to have people that match that, right? It's like, look at the people who have achieved the things that you want to achieve, who works with them, who inspired them, who were their mentors. Like, research that stuff and pay attention, because that's what's going to inform decisions for when you are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent the
wheel. 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't.
Like, today,
if we're being honest,
conversation, but
what works tends to work. You know, it's like, it's real. There's certain industries that pretty much everything stays the same, and there's certain team members that pretty much everything stays the same. Like, the only thing that's really changing nonstop is like, you know, social media or emerging tech. But outside of that, it's like the whoever made a good manager like 15 years ago probably will still make a good one today. There's just like certain types of like characteristics and know-how that these people need to have to be able to do a great job. Like, whoever's your accountant, whoever's your attorney, it's like they still need to have those same skill sets and the same drive and whatever else.
Yeah, No, that's facts. I agree. 1000% for sure. Yeah. And on top of that too, like I feel like one of the you said freaking accountant. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, we didn't mention that person. But that's when you got the big bank. That's when you big
Oh
bank.
yeah. You know,
That's a
and
whole
I
other.
don't know if I should say it's not, but my accountant is myself. I literally
I don't know if I should say this or not.
I like, and the thing is, I haven't gotten audited yet, you know, God forbid. But like, I just between TurboTax and like Cash App, I've been filing and I've been paying what I got to pay.
I've been
But
filing.
like, I'm not opposed to having an outside person do it. And when you really have big bags, yeah, like please get an accountant and get somebody to take care of that because.
But because due diligence is always
due diligence.
Because the bottom line is the moral of this entire episode is do your research. Do your research to understand what a team member
pay attention.
Pay attention to it and do your research on what it is how is this dynamic supposed to work? What are your responsibilities actually so that you like if I were anyone, I mean, this is just what I would do. If I'm stupid wealthy, I need to see receipts of everything. If I'm so wealthy to the point that I'm like, I have so much money, I don't want to manage it. I don't want to pay my own bills. I don't want to do that. Okay, then I need to see receipts of every single transaction that's ever happened. That type of diligent, like you got to stay on it because that's the only way you know what's going on. Mortgage was paid. Okay, let me see that. Bills was paid on this property. What about this one over here? I need to see all of them.
Taxes is paid. Like
taxes was paid.
Here's the thing: when the tax evasion charge hits, they're not going to be like, "Oh, who is the accountant?" They're going to be like,
"Did you?" Who is responsible for this? They coming for you.
You need to be able to clock that. So
you and only you.
It all falls back on you. So it's like, yes, you got to put people in position, but you also got to be vigilant because that's going to be you and your business on the line, and you don't want the entire thing to fall apart because of one bad apple.
Yeah. No.
I know we talked a lot about like doing your research and all that stuff. I just want to share a couple of resources that are great. The Digilog, love them. Look them up. Newsletter and social media, like they're great. Also, Women in Music, like they have so many cool resources. Even different types of distributors like Hard Drive, HRDRV, and Venice Music, which also do like artist services. Like so many types of like resources. They'll have like different webinars and things like that. And mind you, a lot of these things are free or low cost. So it doesn't matter if you in Ohio and Indonesia, like it don't matter. Like you don't need to be in New York, LA, Atlanta to make things shake. I mean, granted, I am in New York and Rhyver is in LA. So yes, we're major cities and we're blessed to be there. But the point is the internet is accessible to everybody. Mm-hmm. The bare minimum, you can look things up online to equip yourself. Like Songtrust even has like really great stuff too. I mentioned ChatGPT because I use chat every day. If you type in the chat, what are 10 things that every independent artist should know? Or what are 10 things that every like rising business owner should know? It'll probably give you some pretty good suggestions and you can kind of go from there. So it's like just kind of doing that research, taking the initiative to learn things, to reach out to people that you want to like intern with or want to mentor you. There's so many ways to get the information at this point. It's really on you if you don't get it, because just the Google search bar will give you a lot.
And we've talked about these resources as well before, but just to relist them again, if you guys are like, okay, I'm doing my research, how do I find out where to see people's teams? IMDb Pro is one of the places where you can go. It operates as kind of like an entertainment industry, all-encompassing entertainment industry. So music, TV, film, and even athletes who have touched in some of these industries, you'll be able to find them on there as well. Variety Insight is another one. You can go on there. They have like a lot of it's a news outlet, but they also allow for you to see a lot of people, different people's teams. Billboard also does it. And then, just staying in the loop on one of the things that I love the most about Billboard, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline, all of which are basically like journalism platforms, entertainment industry journalism platforms, media news outlets, essentially. They update you when people change their teams. And the reason why that is because it's so important. We're talking about this because literally, like I said, this is the most important part. People don't take this stuff lightly. Typically, when you find the manager, in my experience, I could say, or at least the teams that I've been on, a lot of those clients have been with those managers for years, some of them 10 years, some of them upwards of 20, 30 years. It just depends, because it's a bond. Your business partners. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up, your manager should be your business partner, because they should have your best interest in mind, the business's best interest in mind, which is your creativity, all of that. But utilizing all of these different platforms, they show you like, okay, wait a minute, so-and-so changed their manager. They were together for 30 years. Something must have happened. I better go read that article. Let me go find out why that change just happened. Is there something that I should know about? Is there something that wasn't accounted for? What happened? So-and-so changed their manager. They were with them for 30 years and they're not together anymore. I should read up on why that happened, so I know what I should be looking out for. If something hits the fan, if things change, maybe it was just retired. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So utilizing those outlets to help you do the research of like, okay, who are on people's teams and why. The cool part that you'll see, depending on, there are a lot of different good examples, but depending on who you're looking up on the music side and then who you're looking up on the TV and film side specifically, it'll show you like the different types of managers and agents that people have. So for example, like if we're looking up somebody like Rihanna, she has several different types of agents. She has her tour agent, right? / booking agent. She has her TV film agent, because she's acted. We've seen her do it. She's had her branding and endorsements arm. That team is at her agency typically. So all the brand endorsements that she gets outside of her own businesses and things like that happens through her agency. And then she has all of the different label, everything. It'll show you literally everybody sectioned off. So utilize that if you're trying to do some research into understanding like, okay, who are the people that these people have? How long have they been with them? What it'll help you to be able to inform yourself as you're making those decisions too.
Yeah, no, and that's a really great point. And also it's like, if you, first of all, I think IMDb Pro is totally worth paying for it. But if you're, like let's say like you're in high school and you don't got an allowance or something, or like you're grown and you just don't got bread, LinkedIn is free.
Oh yeah.
Twitter is free. Instagram is free. A lot of these people, look at who be commenting on stuff. Look at, especially if you know at least one team member, look at who likes their things and who comments on their things, because usually other team members, they all follow each other and whatnot. So between like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, you already know pretty much everybody who's doing what. That's how you find like the stylist. That's how you find the hairstylist. That's how you find the photographer.
And they tag everybody too.
The thing is, they do credits now. A lot of these celebrities doing credits.
And the cool part is a lot of the articles credit the teams too. So say for example, Nas does something, right? Like if it's in Deadline, Variety, Billboard, any of it, in the article, they will literally say Nas is represented by Nas is at maybe not Nas, he's a big example, but maybe a smaller, I can't think of anybody right now off the top of my head, but it'll literally give you those credits too. So and then you can go on those company pages, you can look there, they'll have their employee.
There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down, but the point is almost everything that you need access to, you can find online. So just don't make any excuses. Just go do it.
Got it.
Do you have any questions? I feel like we addressed a lot of things. If we have questions, comments, concerns,
we here. And if there's any I don't even know what the follow-up with this would be, but yeah, let us know if y'all have questions. I know the team conversation is nuanced and layered and there's all these different things, but we gave y'all like the high level, Yeah,
we gave you guys a TLDR.
To get you started, to get you going, but y'all know how we are. There's no questions. Oh wait, I'm looking. Oh no, okay. Thought we did for a second.
Yeah. All right, guys. We appreciate you so much for tuning in live.
Episode 12.
Honestly, truly. Episode 12, How to Build a Team. And watch out for any snippets that come out of this. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Value-filled convo as always. Appreciate you. You're so sweet. We love to give you all the gems. Feel free to, DM or tag us if anything. And also, full episodes will be coming to YouTube sooner than you think. So watch out for those. And then beyond that, newsletter stuff, blog stuff. We're trying to give you guys the content in every form imaginable. So,
you know, because if you don't catch it on Twitch, and if your friends don't catch it, you send them to them and they don't catch it on Twitch before it expires, we know. So we're gonna get the little recaps going for y'all, all of that good stuff. But make sure to send it to the homies who are trying to build their team. They got 14 days and then it's gone. And they got to catch the snippets until we
Hello. Yeah.
Okay, y'all. Happy Sunday, everybody. We'll see y'all next week.
Sure. Bye.